Hello everybody, welcome to That's Football. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest football transfer news, and all I've got to say is wow, we've had two big here we goes in the last 24 hours. I'm still recovering, and that's not from the beers in the beer garden last night. The transfer window has kicked off big style. I mean, we've had a good June. It's going to be a better July. Arsenal, Madueke and Spurs, have they just stolen the quickest, best transfer of the window so far? Gibbs-White, he sat there on Friday afternoon, sunbathing. Next thing, he's a Spurs player. Here we go. Absolutely out of nowhere. And I think that's going to be a really good signing for Spurs as well. Kudus and Gibbs-White, clever signings by Thomas Frank and Spurs that will improve them, no doubt. What does it mean for some of their current players like Maddison, etc.? Anyway, want to talk about Liverpool and Luis Diaz. There is some really interesting developments around what's going on there. There's talks of a bid from Bayern. There's talks of Liverpool rejecting it. We'll talk about that. Also, have you seen Sunderland's transfer window so far? I don't know why it's not been reported anywhere. I've certainly not seen it. Lefay, Adingra, they've spent over £100 million. Could they be staying up? You know, who knows? But we're going to start off with Arsenal. And we're going to talk about Madueke, and it is a here we go, and it is £52 million. Now, this is apparently Arteta's doing, and this is what should happen. It happened with Man United. I and many other United fans felt we should have sold Bruno for £100 million. He's 31. We're not going to use him as a number 10. We're going to use him as a midfielder. That £100 million could have bought a better midfielder and still had money in the pocket to be spending money now. United are sat there not doing anything, but Amrim didn't want to do that. And you've got to respect that. Now, Arteta wants Madueke, apparently. £52 million. He's spoken to him personally. He believes there's a player there with a lot more potential than he's shown at Chelsea. You have to trust that. You have to trust that. Arsenal fans, some of them happy, a lot of them not happy, but you have to trust that. And if you don't trust that, then you don't trust your manager, and then you've got a problem. He's got to deliver something this year. I would say, for £52 million, Chelsea have done it again. They've done it again. They bought him for 28. They've nearly doubled their money on a player that I don't think has shown that value. So Arsenal have bailed Chelsea out again like they did with Havertz. So he's got to get it right. He's got to get it right. But the manager must choose. And as much as I think they should be looking at Rodrigo, maybe he's going to be more expensive. Maybe they feel they can get Madueke and Eze for the price of Rodrigo, in which case you've just got to trust the manager. But I get the concerns. I haven't seen enough of Madueke that makes me think he's good. But in an Arsenal environment, and if he does go up to the levels he can achieve, then this will look like a masterstroke. The question's going to be, Arteta, people felt he got it wrong with Ramsdale, with Raya. He got it right. Let's just wait and see. But Chelsea, at the moment, look like they've done a good deal there. No doubt about it. But just quickly with Arsenal, nothing going on with Gyökeres at the moment. Still in a stalemate there. That's the most important position. But Fabrizio Romano reporting this morning that Eze is still a player of interest to Arsenal. They're still negotiating with the player. Then they'll negotiate with Crystal Palace. So you can expect a striker, probably Gyökeres and Eze, still to come in for Arsenal. So they are still very active in the window. But give us your thoughts on that Madueke signing. Right, let's go back to Liverpool. So Liverpool, Luis Diaz is still the big story at the moment. Reports in Germany that Bayern have put a bid in. Reports in Barcelona that they would prefer him as their Nico Williams alternative. But reports from Liverpool that this player is not for sale. So what is actually going on here? Are we in for another long, drawn-out transfer? Well, I think logically, and Liverpool fans can lead on this, logically, you sell Luis Diaz, you go and get Rodrigo, you get an upgrade, he gets what he wants. That's what I would be thinking about. However, we don't know the price of Rodrigo, we don't know the wage of Rodrigo, and we don't know the situation with Luis Diaz. What Fabrizio Romano has said this morning as well is that in relation to Diaz, it very much feels like, obviously there is this delay that everybody has to respect because of the tragedy of last week. But as time goes on, Liverpool will come back into the world of being active in the transfer market because the season's going to start soon. And they will have to start making decisions around Ekatike, Isak, probably not going to happen, but they would do it if they could. So they'll pivot somewhere else. I think with Diaz, and correct me, Liverpool fans, on what's happening at your club, it feels like if he says to Liverpool, I want to leave, I think they'll move him on. I don't think they're going to keep a player against their will. when they can move him on, get good money, etc. If he is willing to stay, I think Liverpool will keep him because he's a very good player. And I think it's going to come down to that. They've got 2 buyers, and Bayern Munich will pay good money. So Liverpool have got a buyer there. It then comes down to replacements. There is no point letting this player go if you can't get a replacement. But on the same hand, there is no point keeping a player that doesn't want to be here. And especially with what Liverpool achieved last season and what they're trying to achieve next season, you do not want to have players that don't want to be there. This is not a Liverpool of 10, 15 years ago where they're nowhere near winning titles. They are now the best team in England. They're looking to be the best team in the Champions League and the best team in England again. And they don't need to keep players that go, I don't want to be here. So I don't think they would keep him anyway. And especially in light of what's happened over the last few days, I don't think Liverpool Football Club or their supporters are going to have much of an appetite to keep a player that's sort of saying he wants to leave anyway. So I think it will come down to that. Of course, any football club can say, you're not going, you've got a contract. But I just don't feel Liverpool will do that. I think they will basically have the chat, and if the player says I want to go, then he will go. And Liverpool just need to line up a replacement, which at the moment, obviously, Darwin Núñez needs to go. And Liverpool are taking their time on that because of things that happened tragically last week with Jota and his brother. So I suspect that in the fullness of time, we'll get an answer on this. But my feeling is that if Diaz wants to go, and it seems like he does, I think Liverpool will move him on to Bayern and they'll replace him. And I would be looking at Rodrigo because it looks like Arsenal have made their choice that they're going to go Madueke. Well, they are. It's a here we go, isn't it? So that's where they are in relation to that. Interestingly enough, Barcelona have apparently prioritised Marcus Rashford now as well, which would mean Diaz and Bayern maybe is more. I can see him in a Bayern Munich shirt as well. He didn't play for Bayern Munich before, did he? I can just really picture Luis Diaz in a Bayern Munich shirt. Yeah, certainly could. But it's a really busy time in the transfer window now. Players are back training. Tours are on the horizon. The Premier League after that. And as I said, Spurs getting Gibbs-White that quickly is really exciting. It just shows you that teams can act really, really quickly. Where does it leave Nottingham Forest? A team that had such a good season last year. I think they've bought a good striker in from Botafogo, that Jesus. But losing Gibbs-White and Elanga, that's a big, big blow for them. They're now being linked to Grealish. And they bid for Wizza from Brentford, which is interesting because he's a forward and you've just bought a forward and you've got Chris Wood. So, I think the relegation race, based on what Sunderland have done, and Burnley have brought a lot of players in, and I think Leeds will be active, there are some vulnerable teams there. Brentford, Wolves, there could be others who join that equation as well. So could be in for a very interesting start to the season around the relegation, but I'd still predict Sunderland, Burnley and Leeds go down. As for Chelsea, look, I think that money from Madueke will be well received. They've got the Club World Cup final, which we're covering on Sunday, which will bring money in as well. I just feel like Chelsea are going to do something more. And Fabrizio Romano, via Matteo Moretto, the Italian journalist, reporting that AC Milan are now looking at Nicholas Jackson. It feels like Nicholas Jackson's going to move on as well. And the incredible thing is, he hasn't done that well. But they'll probably get 100 million for him, won't they? And I think it needs to be studied just how good. And look, people facilitate it. They're not facilitating it through illegal means. They pay these prices. How did Chelsea get these prices at Premier League rivals? It's incredible. But I expect that Chelsea will be active again in the transfer market. Where they'll go again, I don't know. But I think they will be active again, 100%. And I think next week is going to really start to kick off because deals are starting to happen now and they're starting to happen out of nowhere. And I'm still looking at Newcastle, Aston Villa, and I think they need to sort of respond. We're into the new financial year now. I think there are clubs that are going to need to respond because I look at that Premier League at the moment and Liverpool have had a good window, Chelsea have had a good window, Arsenal are having a good window, and Man City have done reasonably well as well. They were the top 4 last year. Spurs are starting to get in the race. They're doing some good business. And, that's your top 5. At the moment, I'd say that is your top 5. Some of the business that's being done. So what are Villa doing? What are Newcastle doing? I think clubs need to start getting in the race, certainly. Get your comments in below on everything we've discussed. Make sure you smash a like and subscribe as usual. And I will speak to you on the next one, which could be really soon because we could have another Here We Go at any time. Thanks for watching.